Hello, 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 beautiful beings. I am chilling in a very comfy chair. And I wanted to talk about Matrix. I want to talk about timeline glitches. I want to talk about the Mandela effect. Some crazy shit is going on. So I wanted to see if you guys are also feeling the timeline glitches and the effects of the vibration speeding up, especially this past week. So I don't know if it's solar flares, I don't know if it's the Schumann resonance, I don't know if it's an individual vibrational thing, or if it's just kind of a planetary thing. But what I've been noticing is that there's been a lot of glitches lately. There's been a lot of like weird timeline issues that are happening, which honestly makes you feel freaking crazy because you're like, I swear I sent that email. I swear I saved that document. I swear I put my keys there instead of there. So, yeah, there's deja vu happening, there's timeline glitches happening, there's Mandela effects happening, but at an individual level, to the point where, I thought to myself this past week, what do normal people do? Like, what do people who don't understand, not that they don't understand, but like, what do people do who don't actually realize that there's other stuff going on? Like, I swear I would think that I was either losing my mind, early onset Alzheimer's, or like something to that effect, right? Like, definitely, because it's just been so wild. So I want to talk about the glitches in the Matrix. I want to talk about timelines and timelines converging. I want to give some examples. And then I want to talk about something a little bit different, but along the same lines about your present vibrational frequency. So let's just talk about the different timelines. Right now, at this time, basically, like I said, it could be many different things. Schumann resonance, solar flares, just a heightened vibrational frequency at an individual level, at a collective level. It could also be the chaos frequency, the fear frequency of the collective that's creating this sort of effect. It's probably a little bit of everything. So I'll give you a good example. So Nat and I just came home from Joshua Tree a couple of nights ago, and we literally just got in the door, we're unpacking the car, we're taking the dog for a walk, we're doing all these things, and I lay down in bed and she's running around and unpacking and whatever, and she's like, oh my god, I lost my wallet, I can't find my wallet, it was in my pocket in the car, and then we stopped to go, like she went pee, right, halfway through our drive, which is about a 3-4 hour drive, and she's like, did I leave it at this gas station? Like, did it fall out of my pocket? And I'm like, I don't know, babe. So I kind of helped her look for it, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And then the craziest thing is, like, I'm laying in bed while she's kind of running around looking for this wallet, and then she opens her side drawer of her, like, side table, and her wallet's in the drawer of her bedside table. And she looks at me, she's like, what? And I look at her, I'm like, what? And she's like, babe, like, you saw that I haven't even come into the bedroom since and it was like 20 minutes of just like looking for this wallet. She cleaned out the car, she looked into the garage, she looked through all of our bags to see is it somewhere obvious, And it literally appeared in the side table top drawer, right? So that is an example. I want to give you another example. Another good example that happened recently is I ended up sending a document to a lawyer, and the lawyer came back and said, hey, I can't open the document. And I'm like, okay, no worries. Let me just go grab the document again and resend it. So I'm looking on my laptop, I'm looking on my desktop, I'm looking in my junk folder, I'm looking in my trash, I'm looking in my external hard drive. I can't find this document anywhere. And I remember downloading it from online in a PDF format, and I remember specifically like the title of it was all these like numbers and letters and like weird shit, so I retitled it The Form, right? The Form AR11 whatever address change. And I remember retitling it, saving it to one of my computer desktops, and sending it off. So not only could I not find the freaking form, but when I looked back into the email, the thing that I originally sent was gone completely. Like it was like as if I never sent it at all. Now I find that like when timelines are doing some weird stuff, basically it's a good representation of basically I was gonna say that computer stuff is more likely to like mess up. And the reason why computers are more likely to mess up when timelines are moving really rapidly is because I believe that the internet, I believe that computers is its own dimension. I believe that it's almost a little bit more lucid than this physical 3D reality. I don't know how else to say that. If I am, okay, good example. Right now in this moment, April whatever, at whatever time, 1, 2, 3, right? I'm talking to all of you, but where you're at right now is potentially a different day and probably a different time altogether, and especially a different location. What I mean by this is through this platform, through this weird, and then in the 3D reality, I'm just chilling in my office, talking to myself, basically, which I always think is really funny to think about. But right now, in this moment, we are quantum leaping through space and time. In this now moment, right now. And the reason why we're able to quantum leap through space and time is because we're accessing the online realm. I'm accessing my phone, I'm accessing the internet, and through accessing that, we're able to leap space and time, which is really badass. Once again, when timelines speed up, when the vibration increases, and things begin to get really weird, the online world is going to be the first thing to glitch out because it's not necessarily anchored in space and time the way my body is right here in this moment, if that makes sense, okay? So just know, like, you're not going crazy. You did send that email in a different timeline. So I want to talk about, I always like end up getting really freaking close to the camera. I want to talk about these different timelines. So what I've been like aware of in my own reality, and then also in like other people's reality, like friends, family members who are like, wow, this is weird. Like, I don't know what's happening. What I've been noticing is, I'm like getting really hot just even talking about this. So we choose one time. I'm going to try and explain this the best I can. We choose one timeline. I'm going to send this email. And based on the choice that you make in that moment, you go down a journey, right? There are all these subsequent choices that we make after making that one initial choice. Essentially, that journey will lead you to a timeline destination. Okay? Think about this. There are an infinite number of other timelines that you could and simultaneously are choosing. When we get into more of a quantum reality, when we get into a fifth dimensional reality, we're actually making multiple choices at the same time, which is a little bit difficult to wrap your head around, and same for me, it's a little confusing. What's happening right now is we will make one choice with an expected outcome, timeline outcome of that choice, but halfway through the journey of that timeline and that initial choice, we end up hopping into a completely different timeline, which subsequently has a completely different timeline outcome. Okay? This is literally where the Mandela effect comes into play. This is where glitches in the matrix come into play. It's essentially the timelines are distorted or they get distorted. So let's talk about timeline distortion. This is really important. And this is a download that I had in the past couple of days, just observing some glitches in the matrix and experiencing these timeline shifts. So timeline distortion, okay, there's so many different variables. I guess I would define timeline distortion as you end up flipping into a different timeline halfway through the timeline you chose. For example, let's bring it back to the coffee example. Love timelines and coffee. So in the morning, for example, you have many choices of liquid that you could start your day off with. You end up choosing coffee. Maybe that's like the 80% likely timeline that you would already hop into. Halfway through enjoying your morning coffee, you reach to grab a piece of paper, you reach to grab the phone as it's ringing, and you spill your coffee. I could say that that is a timeline distortion in the way that something externally affected your end result or the expected end result of that timeline. Therefore, you are then forced to choose a different timeline. Now, that's a very 3D example of timeline distortion. The main timeline distortion that I've been aware of is, how do I put this? Yes, uncertainty. Uncertainty absolutely is the number one main timeline distortion. So, all right, let's virtually go to a restaurant together. You're at a restaurant, first time ever being there, so you have zero expectation of the outcome of the restaurant experience. You open the menu, and there are 10 things on that menu that you would love. Like, any one of these 10 things I would love. Okay. So, between the time where you arrive at the restaurant and you're looking at the menu, so basically between the time where you arrive into that, say, umbrella timeline, and the moment where you choose what you want to eat, all 10 of those timelines, all 10 of those meals are simultaneously occurring. Okay? Now, if you arrive at a restaurant and you're like, for sure, I have been craving X. I don't know whatever it is, right? And that timeline in particular is like 95% likely to happen. That surety, that confidence that you have before making the decision is going to most likely anchor in that timeline and anchor in that probability into your next now moment. Uncertainty or doubt is what's going to flip you into multiple different timelines, which therefore will result in more glitches in your matrix. If you make a decision, like a big decision, say for example, you're like, all right, I'm getting recruited by this other company to change my job from what I have now. I've been there for 10 years and I'm getting recruited to work at a different company. Before you make that decision, simultaneously, both of the timelines are existing. You stay at your current job, you're working at your new job. Say, for example, you make the decision to work at the new job, okay? And you're like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. But you're so full of uncertainty. You're so full of doubt in making that timeline choice. What could very well happen with that uncertainty is you're a week into making that choice. You're a week into your new position. And all of a sudden it's Monday morning and you wake up. You drive into your new office and they're looking at you like, you shouldn't be here. Because you just hopped back into the more certain timeline of staying in your old position. Certainty will anchor in timelines even before you make the physical 3D choice. Uncertainty will blur the lines between timelines, which will end up resulting potentially, okay, as a matrix glitch, as a Mandela effect, into a different timeline outcome. We are literally talking about quantum physics, all right? This is what's happening, and this is what will continue to happen moving forward. So, what will anchor in certainty? That's a great question. Thanks for asking. What will anchor in certainty is intention. This is a huge, huge, huge emphasis that has been really popping up into my own reality, and it's been really incredible. So, so setting your intention is great. Setting your intention for certain moments is even better. I'm going to give you a really a human example. So I bought these shoes. I bought a pair of shoes at a store. I don't have any running shoes, so I'm like, I should probably get a pair of running shoes. I bought a pair of running shoes. They're way too small. I had to go a size up. So I'm like, I'm just going to go into the store and I'm going to return them. Turns out the only store is like a really busy spot of this new location of where I'm living. So I'm like, oh my God, like the last thing I want to do is get stuck in traffic, is not be able to find parking, is go into this crazy busy mall. Like I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I set my intention. I said, instead of worrying and essentially projecting what I don't want to have happen, I'm going to set my intention and I'm going to be very certain about that intention, that this is what I want the outcome to be. I want it to be smooth. I want it to be traffic free. I want to find the perfect parking spot. I want it to be easy, effortless, quick, boom, 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 in and out. It was exactly everything I wanted it to be because I was certain about the intention that I had. At this point in time, okay, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you could literally live your life completely unaware of anything, completely even unaware of your own freaking existence, and you could just get by. These days, you can't do that. If you live your life unaware or unintentional or intentionless, I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it. If you live your life intentionless, what's going to happen is every single moment from moment to moment, you are going to experience the chaos of multiple different timelines converging together. That's okay when you want multiple timelines to have happen. That is not okay, extremely overwhelming, panic-inducing, anxiety-inducing when we go about life without a clear intention, hopping into an infinite number of timelines from moment to moment. And I think we've all been there. And I've been really questioning, like, what are those moments when I feel anxiety? Because in that moment when I'm feeling anxiety, I look at my life and I'm like, you know what? Everything's just flowing. Nothing's blocking me. Like nothing in my life is creating this feeling of anxiety. So what is it? Those are days where I wake up and I'm like, I'll let life happen to me. And what happens is, not only do you end up feeling the entire weight of the world and the fear of the world, because you're just an empath and you're open and you don't set your intention or your focus, but all of a sudden a simple decision like drinking a cup of coffee gets very overwhelming. It's timeline paralysis. What do I choose? What do I drink? Where do I go? And not making a choice, not having the certainty in the choices that you're making is going to spiral you into a shit ton of chaos. And you're going to feel anxiety. You're going to feel overwhelm. So the emphasis that I want to make today is, one, there are a crazy amount of glitches that are happening in the matrix at an individual level as well as at a collective level. I don't really know what's happening glitch-wise at a collective level because I'm just not tuned in at that level, let's say. But I can see it in my own life. So yeah, glitches are happening. And two, we can prevent glitches by being more intentional. And likewise, we can control glitches or actually even navigate/manipulate glitches if we so desire, when you get to that level, right? First, recognize that glitches are happening because we're hopping into an infinite number of timelines, and the vibrational frequency of your own life and the reality around you is speeding up, which allow us to experience a multi-dimensional reality, not an individual reality, which is important to know. And I want to mention something else. This is really important. Every moment of your day, even the mundane ones, like whatever you were doing before you hopped into this video, whatever you're going to do after, every thought that you have is a vibrational ripple into your next now moment of reality. Now, in the past, because the vibration around us was a lot slower, one thought that you have in this now moment could ripple and affect you in 5 years' time, in 25 years' time. You know what? In 5 lifetimes' time. All right? These days, the vibration is so rapid that your thought in this moment is going to be an instant manifestation of your next now moment. If you're about to go shopping and you're like, oh my God, I'm so worried I can't find a parking space, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to find a parking space. So if there's anything that you take away from this video and kind of like my own awareness of the timelines, is to recognize these timelines in your own life, to recognize the feeling of overwhelm when you haven't made a clear, conscious decision, but then to honestly just be more intentional about every moment. Not in a way that you need to attach or control, because that would get way too exhausting way too quickly, but in a way that you really, truly feel in control of your life, in charge of the outcome of every moment. And the word that comes through with that is responsibility. In this higher frequency, in this higher form of existing and being, we need to recognize first and foremost that every aspect, every element of our entire lives are dictated by us. Not society, not your boss, not your husband or wife, not your dog, not your neighbor, by you. And when we start to really anchor in our intention and our certainty about what we want, not even in a 3D way, in a very 5D way, what vibe do you want out of this experience? What do you want to feel after working today? What do you want to feel in your workday? The more intentional you are, the more certain you are, the more you anchor in the timeline that you want. And as you begin to experience this, you literally get your mind freaking blown about how quickly those intentions are manifested and anchored into your reality, so that all of a sudden you're hopping into the timelines that you are dictating for yourself. And you get out of that victim mentality and you start to become your own God. So it's pretty incredible. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So thank you all, as always, for spending your time and energy and space with me. I really appreciate all of you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, I will see all of you in the higher frequencies, not just the 5th, but all of the higher frequencies. Bye for now.